I'm Joe Bud from Sanjurvasi. This is the Rorschach, Georgia update from the 21st of May, 2026. Quick summary of what's going down in Georgia. On Sunday the 17th, newly elected Patriarch Shio III condemned abortion and supported the country's anti-LGBT laws during Family Purity Day. Speaking at the Holy Trinity Cathedral in Tbilisi, he said that abortion dooms families and calls for the reinforcement of existing legislation against gender ideology. Shio III also warned of a demographic danger where other ethnicities in the country could outnumber Georgians the way Georgians were outnumbered by Armenians in the time of Ilia Chapchavadze. I added that last part. He didn't mention that. The church established Family Purity Day in 2014 specifically to overshadow the International Day Against Homophobia, which shares the same date. While officials celebrated the event, former President Salome Zurabashvili criticized the sermon for its harshness, and human rights advocates noted that economic hardship and massive emigration is what actually drives population decline. Speaking of the Patriarch, on Tuesday the 19th, police arrested a man after he rammed his car through the front gates of the Georgian Patriarchate in Tbilisi. The driver smashed into a parked car, threw glass bottles, shouted profanities before security stopped him. Fortunately, nobody suffered any injuries. Investigators subsequently charged the suspect with property damage. While authorities still haven't released the specific motive, witnesses described the driver's behavior as highly aggressive and erratic. Link to a video in the show notes. Sunday the 17th, Georgian queer rights groups released a joint statement saying that the government used repression against the queer community as a training ground to build its current authoritarian state. Organizations like Tbilisi Pride and the Equity Movement stated that the 2024 anti-LGBT law officially dragged Georgia into a pro-Russian repressive system. Groups said that while the government says it pushes family values that they tend not to define, its state-sponsored hate actually forces families to kick queer youth out, leaving them without homes or safety nets. Because the state offers no social protections, these community organizations now run their own networks to provide medical, legal, and psychological care. On Thursday the 14th, students from a state-funded Moscow Theater Institute performed a World War II play filled with Soviet war songs at the Shota Rustaveli State Theater in Tbilisi. Student Interest Section organized the event to celebrate the 81st anniversary of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany, the victory that was 6 years after the Soviet pact with Nazi Germany started the Second World War. The event drew an audience largely of diplomats and Russians. The show sparked intense public outrage on social media where critics condemned the performance as a tool of Russian imperial propaganda. One participating Russian student fueled anger by stating that Tbilisi felt as if it were not another country. Theater director Gia Tevzadze defended the decision, stating that the venue rented out the stage strictly to maximize its financial revenue. In other news, on Monday the 18th, State Minister Mamuka Mdinaradze announced that the government will establish a special department within the Interior Ministry to monitor and penalize public communication it deemed to be hate speech. News agency will proactively scan public discourse without waiting for individual complaints, prepare legal assessments, forward cases to court. Dinaradze said the department will operate under existing laws, referencing 2025 legal changes that criminalized insulting public officials, heavy fines or jail time. While the ruling party defended the move, curb offensive social media campaigns, opposition politicians and rights groups warned that the institution creates a systemic mechanism to censor political dissent and control critics. On Wednesday the 13th, the European Parliament handed down a one-year ban against pro-government television station IMEDI for violating media recording rules. An official letter revealed that an IMEDI film crew cornered and recorded a member of the European Parliament on May 6th without permission, ignoring a prior official warning from April. Separately, the Moldovan government also denied IMEDI Rustaviori and Post TV press credentials to cover an upcoming Council of Europe event. While IMEDI and Parliamentary Speaker Shalva Papuashvili condemned the restrictions as attacks on press freedom, the broadcaster already faces broader international pressure, including a UK blacklisting for spreading misleading wartime narratives. On Wednesday the 13th, a United States court sentenced 22-year-old Georgian national Mikhail Chikishvili to 15 years in prison for soliciting hate crimes and distributing bomb-making instructions. As a leader of the international white supremacist group Maniacs Murder Cult, Chikishvili authored a violent manifesto linked to a 2024 mass stabbing in Turkey and a 2025 school shooting in Tennessee. United States prosecutors revealed that Chikvishvili was arrested in Moldova in 2024 and extradited the following year. While living in Brooklyn, he conspired with an undercover FBI agent to plan a mass casualty attack targeting Jewish children and racial minorities in New York City using poisoned candy. On Wednesday, the 13th, the Russian State Duma ratified a new integration treaty with the de facto South Ossetian regime in Samachablo that outlines a sweeping economic and structural merger. The agreement builds towards a unified economic space for emerging energy, transport, and communication systems and establishes a single state approach to foreign investments and loans. It also guarantees a free movement of capital goods, services, and labor between Russia and the occupied region. Georgia's foreign minister, Makabochodishvili, strongly condemned the move at the Council of Europe, stating Moscow continues to ignore international law and take active steps towards the annexation of Georgian territories. Human rights advocate Tamta Mikeladze also warned that the treaty represents a practical annexation, creating a colonial mechanism that treats post-Soviet regions as part of a single Russian space. On a similar topic, during the same event, Makabochodishvili explained Georgia's decision not to support the European Council's initiative establishing a special tribunal for Russian war crimes in Georgia. She said that backing the tribunal creates severe security risks and potential aggression from Russia. She did not say that Russian war crimes themselves create any security risks or the potential for aggression. 36 countries in the European Union signed the agreement during the ministerial session in Strasbourg without Georgia. On Tuesday, the 19th, the Council of Europe released a 2025 prison statistics report revealing that Georgia ranks fourth among 46 member states for its high incarceration rate. The country holds 232 inmates per 100,000 residents, trailing only Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Moldova. The authors noted that this high density reflects a punitive legal culture focused heavily on imprisonment. The study highlighted the average age of a Russian prisoner is 39, with a high concentration of inmates over the age of 50. The report also warned that Georgian prisons are severely understaffed, with far too many inmates for each guard to manage, while the percentage of female inmates remains rather low overall. 30% of those women in jail are foreign citizens. On Tuesday the 19th, Georgia's State Security Service arrested 3 Georgian citizens in the Pankizi Valley region, eastern Georgia, for terrorism. Counterterrorism units raided the villages of Omalo, Birkiani, and Jokolo. Following judicial warrants, authorities state that the men joined ISIS and received operational orders from handlers abroad to set up a local extremist cell and recruit others. Officers seized illegal firearms, ammunition, explosives, and ISIS flags during the raids. Suspects face up to 17 years in prison if convicted. On Friday the 15th, news outlet OC Media published an article by Helena Bedwell entitled Georgia's New Vineyard Rules Draw Accusations of Soviet-Style Thinking from Small Producers. The article details the intense conflict between state regulation and independent winemakers following recent amendments to the law on vine and wine. While government officials asserted that the strict new bureaucratic rules preserve national wine quality and export standards, independent winemakers argue that the immense bureaucracy favors industrial conglomerates and threatens to eliminate small producers of rare indigenous grape varieties. Critics stress that forcing growers to obtain state permission and purchase only certified seedlings will crush diversity and dismantle centuries of family traditions. A link to the full article is in the show notes. And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Anything to ask or tell us? info@rorschach.com. Nach Vamdis.